at para maliwanagan tayo sa mga batas hinggil sa karapatan ng mga kababaihan. Makakasama natin ngayon si Attorney Mary Grace Agkawili, ang Social Policy Specialist ng UNICEF. Magandang gabi po.
Magandang gabi, Sir June and Miss Cathy.
Donc, qui est Grace Akaoili? C'est une alliée du mouvement, comme étant une des personnes qui a pas mal aidé au cimetière. En 96, il y avait une démolition assez violente, vu qu'elle était étudiante en droit. Elle a pu aider pour aller à la mairie. Je veux dire qu'elle permet d'ouvrir les portes de son institution aux personnes très pauvres. Parce que si une personne se présente à l'UNICEF ou à d'autres endroits, s'il n'y a pas d'alliés derrière, dans l'institution même, c'est beaucoup plus difficile. Dans son travail, je pense qu'elle se compromet. Elle se compromet parce qu'elle a vécu, elle a entendu les histoires, elle sait.
I'm working here in UNICEF Philippines as a social policy specialist. I'm also in charge of the urban strategy of UNICEF. I started being a friend of ATD in 1990s, I think. I enjoyed going to the street libraries, teaching children, going to places that you will never, go to, like under the bridge and in the cemetery. I never thought that there would be people, even if I'm from this country. I never thought when you pass by a bridge, you pass a bridge on top of a bridge. You don't expect people living under it. When you go to a cemetery, you'll never thought that people would live in a cemetery.
Une des premières fois en fait où j'ai pu voir Grace en dialogue avec des gens qui vivent dans une situation de pauvreté, et elle a dialogué avec eux pour savoir ce qu'ils pouvaient faire. Moi, je l'ai trouvée en vérité avec les gens, sans les prendre de haut, comme elle parlerait à d'autres personnes de son milieu ou à d'autres personnes à l'UNICEF ou même à des politiciens, avec le même sens de la justice.
Even if I'm not yet a lawyer at that time, I would be able to share. I was already sharing what I learned from my classroom. What are their rights? What are the rights when a demolition happens? What is provided for under the law? So instead of me just reading books, tons of books, reading the law, it was something I could easily translate to. In the cemetery, every time there was a pending demolition at night, Joanna would call me. We have to face the mayor or the head of the cemetery and say, you're not supposed to do this. The law provides this way. If only the people know. If only the people had a voice. So these are things that I treasure from my experience. Until now, I consider myself a friend, although sometimes my work keeps me from giving so much time. It's in me. It's in the way I do work in UNICEF. It's the experience that I had, that even here in UNICEF, in my work, sometimes you're just here on top of a building at the 31st floor of a nice building here in Makati, in the Central Business District. But those learnings I had from ATD, the experiences of people, and what they have to tell us. I remember one time there was a girl who didn't have a birth certificate. She died and they would not release her body, not give her a death certificate because she never had birth certificate. And I was like, what an irony is it? But she existed, I wouldn't have known if I didn't become involved with ATD. And things that helped me work in UNICEF. And when you want to work for changes in policies, when you want to influence policies, you have to have that experience from the ground. Before, when I was at the ground, what their voices are, what their needs are, what their rights are. How is it to live, to wake up, to live a life of a very poor person in my country? To live a life you're not counted, where basic services are not given to you. And I don't have to go to the farthest rural area. I just need to go within my city. Just go under the bridge. Just go in the recesses of a cemetery. You stay in a building like RCBC. They said there is development, but there's not so many people who are not part of that development. This is a challenge for me. Maybe especially when I entered UNICEF when I was just, pretty younger. That was 12 years ago. People might judge you that, you're young and they have more experience than I do, or that I just came from law school. What they didn't know is that even if I am younger than them, I may have experienced something, so many things through ATD that none of them experience. And this is why I never judge a person based on the length of working experience. And for us, it's not work, it's living that reality. But sometimes they always like listening to my stories because I can always relate it to ground experience, to some reality. It's not just a talk because it's a talk. It is something that looking back now, I may not have been in UNICEF if not for that experience.